Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. That's right. You heard it on the intro. I am Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FG. We're on Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time. I'm on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. We changed the schedule up recently, so I'm on 4 days a week now. Justin Fensterman is on Wednesdays. On Wednesdays, Justin visits with Rich Mileto about a half an hour into the show, and that's what we do here. Half an hour into the show, Tuesday through Friday. We have one of our experts from FantasyGuru.com come on. So Justin and Rich Mileto are on Wednesdays at about 12:30 Eastern Time. Tuesdays, it's me and Armando Marsal. Thursdays, it's me and Tyler Beaker. And Fridays, today, it's myself and Russell Clay. And that's what we're talking about today. Here it is up on the screen for those of you watching us live on YouTube at youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. For those of you watching live on Facebook at facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ. In both of those spots, you can leave comments, questions that we'll address throughout the show, usually toward the end of it as well. So if you got something to say, there you go. If you're watching us live on Twitter X, you can try there. I don't think it really works. You can try. Sometimes we get the comments, sometimes we don't. But you can try at Fantasy Guru's site is where you follow us there. You can always find us at FantasyGuru.com. Click that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. Find this podcast, Justin Fensterman podcast, Armando Marsal podcast. We're trying to get Russell Clay's podcast up there. So we've got a whole bunch of things over there at FantasyGuru.com. I got something. Anyone pick these things up, by the way? Oh, and you can still type in Fantasy Sports Daily to your podcast network and find us there. I got one of these little tiny thorns in my thumb from a piece of like weed that I pulled, and it's one of those like little slivers. It's almost like when you get, part of the bench or something in your finger, and it's like tiny and you can't see it. Like it's in there, and it's happened 2 days ago. And if I hit my finger just right, woo, right? It's like a little tiny faceless thing jammed in my finger there that really, it's not a splinter, just one of the little pricker. Anyway, it really hurts. It doesn't hurt normally, right, when you're sitting there. But when you hit it just right, woo, I just hit it right there on the mouse. That's why I bring it up. We will be visiting with Russell Clay in about a half an hour. We'll talk Thursday Night Football, review of what went down with the Giants and the Cowboys. We'll also talk about some of the bigger storylines that you have questions about. What's going on with the wide receiver position? Everyone's hurt. What are we looking at with the Dolphins offense with the situation they're dealing with the offensive line and the quarterback position? What about the Bears backfield? Do we play anyone there? Some either ors. We'll talk about the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end positions. Throw some either ors at Russell and get his thoughts on who he would rather have moving forward. So we'll do that in a bit. Before we get to that, we'll talk some baseball. Rooker, Sosa, Lowe. No, it's Lowe. Rocker, Foley, Diaz, Perez. I didn't put it on there. We'll talk a little bit MLB playoff matchups. Zach Neto, Vinnie Pasquantino, Clayton, Kershaw, Freddie, Freeman. And maybe we'll get into this. Why are you all in such shallow leagues? I continue to ponder this, and it continues to frustrate me. And I've talked about it many times, so I don't really need to do it again. But I'm going to do it again. I think I will. Why are you all in such shallow leagues? I'd love to hear some comments in the Discord room at FantasyGuru.com. You can also send me notes and comments at The Ray Flowers on social medias and here in the chat room on the show. So let me some thoughts. Why are you all in such shallow leagues? I don't get it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some other things before we get to any of that. Before we get to any of that, let's just do it. I got a surprise for everybody. And we talked about yesterday, so if you were with us yesterday, it's not a surprise today. But boom, it's on the screen now. And let's get back to it being the big picture. We got a 50% off deal right now at FantasyGuru.com, or a buy one, get one free, depending upon how you want to call it, right? But the bottom line is right now, if you buy DFS football, you get wagering football for free. If you buy wagering football, you get DFS football for free. It's 2 for 1 right now. Go to FantasyGuru.com, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. You get them both. The discount code is applied at checkout. Boom, you're set. You're good to go. You get them both. And remember, it's week 4 of the season, right? So you're getting a huge discount here. We could have waited till mid-season to do this, right, or something. Could have waited another 3 weeks to do this. It's right now. You get the ability to go from now forward, and you get both DFS, wagering, complete your training, young. I don't know. I was going to do some Darth Vader thing, but I couldn't think of what I wanted to say there. All I kept thinking in my head was, I'm your father. Get them both. One price, both. DFS football, wagering football right now at FantasyGuru.com. Flash sale. I don't know how long it's going to last. So get in now while you can, because it could disappear tomorrow. I don't know when it will. Pretty exciting stuff. And you know, we have Tyler Beaker on. He shares the Thursday prop with everybody. We've got you get access, by the way. It's not just to the articles and the advice on setting live. You get a Discord for all these. And remember, for those of you that don't know, if you go to FG, we have a DFS room for betting. We have a DFS room. We have a room for betting. We have a room for DFS. We have a room for seasonal. Like, we've got all these different rooms. So that is part of the package you get. The 2-for-1 going on right now at fantasyguru.com. All right, let's talk a little bit of everything else. Let's talk some baseball, starting off with Brent Rooker. And, Brent Rooker went 2 for 3 with the walk yesterday against the Rangers. And, it could happen. He's right on the cusp of 300, 400 season. And Brent Rooker has been, I want to say, a difference maker. Now, it really depends how you define that. And he hasn't been an outright superstar, stealing bases and doing all these kind of things like so many of the other stars. But he does have 11 steals. He's got those 38 home runs, career best in runs and RBIs set for 100 RBIs. So again, if he has a strong last couple of days here, he goes 340, 100 with 10 steals. He has been fantastic. And he did, hit the 30 home runs last year, but everyone obviously coming into this season looked at his batting average and said 250 is kind of what he is. Even though he had the 30 home runs last year, he only had 69 RBIs because of the Athletics offense. And I think we thought a lot of the same things this year. And for the first, couple of months, it kind of looked like that. The offense wasn't very good and all that. But then guys started finding their footing. Blade found his footing. Lawrence Butler's been a star in the second half. Shea Langolier's found his game. Zach Galoff, we talked about him earlier this week. He hasn't had a good season, but he's got a chance to still go 2020 this year like the A's. And Brent Rooker's right at the center of that. And he's just been fantastic. He's good on the road. He's good at home. He's good against lefties. He's good against righties. He has been phenomenal. And now the question becomes with Brent Rooker, what happens next year? Right? Is this repeatable? And we'll spend a lot of time in the offseason delving into this, heading into next season. We're already talking for those people thinking about 2025. Jeff Mans and I actually had a discussion on Wednesday. We always have a talk before we do the show over on SiriusXM. The Elite Sports Show is Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 Eastern with Jeff Mans. I'm on every Wednesday with Jeff. And so every Wednesday we have a kind of State of the Union address on the phone. We kind of talk about everything. We started talking and game planning for 2025 baseball. So season's not even over. We're already thinking about next year. And as I mentioned yesterday, we're going to try to get some half-season leagues set up. But I also think there's going to be some changes in how we cover things for baseball. So look forward to that, implementing those changes. Look forward to you enjoying those changes. We'll obviously talk more about that as we get closer to next season. But Brent Rooker, just a tip of the cap. It's been a special, special season. And he's probably going to hit 296. He's probably going to have a 397 WOBA. Like, he's just going to miss these huge numbers. But don't let that detract. Maybe he'll hit 39 home runs. Just a phenomenal season, though, for Brent Rooker. If we're looking for a boost right now, if we're still playing this game, Lenyn Sosa is somebody we talked about on the waiver wire. I think it was Monday this week. It might have been last week. Who, it's the White Sox. They suck. I'm not talking long-term here, but he could be dual position eligible. He's got a 370 batting average and 1,000 OPS in September. He had a couple more RBIs yesterday, a couple of hits. This is not anything actionable long-term. I think Lenyn Sosa is a starter on a second division team. Luckily for him, the White Sox are a fifth division team. Oh boy. White Sox. Yeah, I know, right? Not very good. Not very good. But still trying to stave off history. We'll see if they can do that. The Tigers don't ever seem to lose anymore, and the White Sox are trying not to lose anymore. But Sosa has been a nice little player here for the month of September. He absolutely could give you an offensive boost here in the last couple of days. Again, I don't think it's a long-term yay or nay. It's just what it is with Lenyn Sosa. But, 370 average, 1,000 OPS, that's, And by the way, since we're talking about batting average, I was looking at this morning. How remarkable is it to think that it's possible that a guy who a couple of years ago, he was barely on the fantasy radar a couple of years ago. He'd had some really big seasons. Then in 2021, he was awful. He hit 213. In 2022, he played a full season of games, hit 23 home runs, hit 226. He was barely getting drafted. Last year, he goes 40-100. This year, he's a home run away from going 40-100. Talking Marcell Ozuna. Do you realize Marcell Ozuna is 2 points away from the National League batting title? Marcell Ozuna. What? Marcell Ozuna, he of the career 273 batting average. He of the I hit 274 last year, dead on my career average, right? He of the last 3 years of the 245 batting average, sitting 310. He might win the batting title. I mean, he's not the most unlikely guy to ever win a batting title if that were to happen. He has had seasons of 312 and 338. 338 was during COVID. So he has had a couple of seasons, but come on, man. If Luis Arias doesn't pull out of this mini slump he's in here the last week or so, Marcell Ozuna might sneak in as the batting titleist in National League. That's amazing. Amazing to say. All right. Speaking of batting average, let's talk about a guy who never has batting average, whose game is not batting average. Game is power, and who, is doing what he's expected to do pretty effectively this year. That's Brandon Lowe, drove in a couple more runs yesterday for the Rays. Excuse me. We'll talk a little bit more about the Rays in a few minutes here. I should have done this better. If I was a better analyst, I would have done this in order. I'm going to stay with the order we have on the screen to not mess people up. So we'll return to the Rays. But Brandon Lowe is up, and this is a second consecutive season. Last year he went 21-68 with 58 runs scored. This year he's got 21 home runs, same exact total. He's got 4 less runs, 10 less RBIs, and 20 less plate appearances. His batting average is up 11 points from last year. So in total, he's been almost exactly the same guy he was last year. 771 OPS last year, 786 this year. This is not a bad offensive player. Now, when you see him doing this and you say to yourself, well, Ray, these aren't very good numbers. They're not. But if the 440 plate appearances become 610 plate appearances, he's going 30-90, 30-85. And remember, he was a home run, an RBI, and 3 runs away from going 40, 100, 100 in 2021. The batting average is never going to be there, but his on-base percentage is palatable. It's league average-ish. It's palatable. The slugging percentage is always strong for a middle infielder. And again, he's got power. Doesn't run, 12 steals since the start of last season, so that doesn't, boost his value any. He is what he is, and it's just, he's a, what you're getting kind of player. And what you're getting is a power bat that doesn't run. If you look at his performance here in the month of September, he's only hitting 221. Does have 5 home runs, though. 5 home runs in 21 games played. So he's still bringing the thunder. In terms of the power, though, his batting average is down. Just wanted to throw it out there. He's on one of my teams. Just was looking at him and said, not a bad baseball player, though. There's nothing to get excited about with him. Up next, Kumar Rocker. There is stuff to get excited about with Rocker. This is more of a long-term call with Rocker. About 3 runs in 4 2/3 innings against the Athletics yesterday. Give up 7 hits, didn't walk anybody. Wasn't a great effort. But, his skill set is tantalizing. Now, he's had a long road to get there. He was an elite level pick, hurt his arm, surgery, down and out and all that kind of stuff. Finally appears to be healthy. He's 24 years old. He's 6'5", 245. Again, an elite level draft pick. He has an issue right now, which is that he throws a slider about 39% of the time, and the rest of it's fastball. So he's thrown 2 curveballs and 3 changeups. So he's thrown 218 pitches, and he's thrown 5 of those pitches. So it would help for him to get a little more diversity in his pitch mix, and I think that'll obviously be something they work on. But the early returns are positive, and he is somebody that you could envision being part of this rotation for the Rangers come the start of next season. It will depend upon what happens. Does Scherzer come back? Is DeGrom good to go? What do they do with a guy like Cody Bradford? All this, but there's a chance. And so in dynasty leagues, obviously he's on rosters. In keeper leagues, if you're keeping him as a 30th rounder, maybe. If he's just a keeper, nah. But that slider looked pretty good, and that's something that got a lot of people really excited. That slider has checked the boxes for a lot of scouts, and so there's potential here for him moving forward. Lots of work to do. But he's healthy, and we'll have some hopefully big things to talk about in 2025 with Kumar Rocker. Jason Foley wanted to point him out. I mean, the Tigers can't lose. I said it earlier. And Foley has got 8 saves in the month of September. And Foley, like so many of his mates, has kind of woken up and then some. And Foley, who was the closer and looked great, and then was the closer and didn't look great, and then was he the closer, and guys are getting opportunities. He's not up to 27 saves. And none of the numbers are outstanding here at all. His 19% strikeout rate, in fact, is poor. But he gets a fair amount of ground balls, about 48% this year. You would think, given his pure stuff, that the strikeout rate would be higher, but he's just never been a strikeout guy. It's not his game. His career K rate is 18%. But he has been fantastic here, as I've noted, down the stretch. And it's not just he's performing effectively, right? Look at him in the month of September. He's got a 195 batting average against. He's got all those saves. And he has just continued to push the needle forward in terms of the bullpen. Because there's a lot of guys in the bullpen like Clase and Helsley. They're pushing toward 50 saves. But then there's guys getting hurt, like Jansen. There's guys losing their jobs, like Kimbrel. The other day, Finnegan pitched terribly, gave up 3 runs, got 2 outs. Like, it's all messy. And Foley's having that finishing kick. And a lot of pitchers don't. We talked about this yesterday. All these pitchers crap in the bed. Foley is going in the other direction. And kudos to him. They've got – the Tigers are mixing and matching. They're doing bullpen games. They're doing openers. Holden is opening one day. He's closing the next day. He's the setup man the day after that. Like, they're mixing and matching, and it's working. I like to see guys have defined roles. I think most players like to have defined roles, but every button that they're pushing right now is working. We'll talk about that in a little bit here too. Yandy Diaz is the next guy up. I should have talked about Diaz earlier. That was the other Ray that I would have done a better job at. Look, I've got Yandy Diaz in Tout Wars. I need Yandy Diaz to play. Yandy Diaz has not played the last 2 games. I have not seen a report suggesting he's hurt. I'm getting nervous that the Rays have quasi shut him down. And we've seen this with some players. And it's, what are you going to do at this point of the season? Like, where's your pivot? What's your option? What are you, what can you do, if anything? I mean, we're going to go run to the waiver wire and pick up Nathaniel Lowe. I mean, maybe, right? If he's, who doesn't have a bad matchup, by the way, it was Reed Detmers. But like Yandy Diaz, the last 2 weeks got a 355 on base percentage. He's just not playing. And it's like, I don't know, man. He's got hits in 4 or 5 games. I'm looking at, he's got hits in 4 or 5 games. Like, so I don't know. And this is why I think most people who play head-to-head don't play the final week of the season. I'm starting to get extremely frustrated from an analyst point of view because guys that should be in the lineup aren't. I have my last cash game breakdown today over at fantasyguru.com. And truth be told, I don't even know who's starting for a couple of these teams today. Like, they haven't even announced starting pitchers. And this is, and I wonder, because I'm directly in it, I wonder if it's the same for all of you. Is this season more frustrating than years past? Has it been more difficult? Does it seem that way to me? I mean, like the other day, Alex Bregman I understand Alex Bregman getting pulled. I get it. It's his last home game. They want to give him a little cheer off the field. Why are you pulling him in like the 5th inning? Pull him in the 8th inning. Get him another at bat. Like, what are you doing? Guys getting rested. Pavin Smith, who was playing every day, all of a sudden the Diamondbacks decided not to play him every day. He's got a 900 OPS in September, but let's bench him. Like, teams are doing some weird things, not to mention the pitching always changing. We'll talk about it in a second here with Martin Perez. Teams are switching pitchers. Joey Cantillo was supposed to pitch on Wednesday against the Reds. Now he's pitching today against the Astros. If you picked him up because you thought it was a better matchup against the Reds, now he's facing the Astros. What do you do? Am I the only one that's frustrated with that? I'd be interested. I can't be the only one, right? So anyway, Yandy Diaz is not playing. I don't know. I don't get it either. Now, Martin Perez was supposed to pitch today. He's not pitching today. Yu Darvish is pitching today. Okay, so Yu Darvish gets to start today. Perez is likely to start one of the next 2 days, I guess. They'll probably. I don't think they'd want to just let him go, right, heading into the playoffs. But we don't know because the Padres haven't announced who's starting their next 2 games yet. This is a continuation of what we're talking about. Teams just not. So the bottom line is Yu Darvish is pitching today. We'll see if Perez, we anticipate him pitching the next day or 2. If you picked him up for a spot start this week, you got to keep your fingers crossed that he makes that start. Speaking of the playoffs, let's hit on that a little bit before we talk injuries and talk in a few minutes to Russell Clay. We're still not certain about the doubleheader on Monday, the one game on Monday, the no game on Monday. We're not certain about that. What we do know is the Braves, Yankees, Phillies, Guardians, Dodgers, Orioles, Astros, and Padres have all made the playoffs. 7 of the 8 teams that have clinched postseason berths are still competing for seeding. So it's not we're in the playoffs and it's locked down. They're still, and this is good for the sport, right? It's still kind of uncertain. So we're not going to see, we shouldn't see shutdowns, right? Because these teams are still trying to figure out playoff seeding. Only the Astros are locked into their exact spot. So we'll see over the next couple of days and, root your teams on. I know the Giants, my team, they ain't in the mix. I was talking to Phil Backett this morning. He's a huge Orioles fan, as you probably all know. He didn't know who he wants to play. You want to play the Tigers, you want to play the Royals. Like this is a really exciting time. If you can move beyond the who the hell's pitching and you can move beyond your involvement in the fantasy space and pull back as a baseball fan, I think it's really exciting. I heard some people bemoaning the fact this is going to be the 24th year in a row that we're not going to have the same World Series champion. That's a bad thing. I mean, that's, to me, as a fan, that's one thing, like in the NBA, half the league is not going to win. Maybe 20 of the 30 teams have no chance to win the championship every year. No chance. In baseball, if 20 of the 30 teams every year have a chance, isn't that the point? I mean, you don't have to spend $250 million to have a successful baseball team. So anyway, keep going on the playoff seeding. We'll touch on it next week. We won't spend a lot of time on the show, as I've noted previously. Once the calendar flips to next week, we'll dabble in some baseball, but it'll be football the majority of the show. We might, again, I'm thinking about this, working on this, talking to some guys. We might have some college football on Fridays. So for those of you looking to get involved with college football, getting some advice for your pools, for your DFS lineups, we do have a college football product at fantasyguru.com. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. You can get access to that. We have the whole product there. In fact, let me pull this up as we're talking. I think you might actually get access to that if you get the all-in football package. If you get the all-in football package over at fantasyguru.com, you would get CFL, UFL, CFL and UFL both. So the betting package includes CFL. The daily package, the DFS package includes CFL and college. So yeah, if you get involved here, college is included in betting, college is included in all in and in the daily. So we do have 3 packages that would include college. I'm not a college football guy. Everyone knows that, but we have a really good team involved there. And so again, we might talk with these guys on Fridays moving forward. So you don't have to just listen to me yap away. Some of the health of players here. Zach Neto, who's 2030, right? Who apparently is just going to run every time he gets on base because he got picked off a couple of times the other night. Hurt his shoulder. He's not going to play today, but they're hopeful that he'll play Saturday and Sunday. Now, of course, does that mean he plays? We have no idea. But he's expected to play, Zach Neto. And again, putting the finishing touches on pretty damn impressive second season. He didn't get it done in year 1. Year 2, he did get it done. Still holes, still things to work on, but no one's going to be complaining about going 20-30 from him. So he has had a great fantasy return of a season. Vinnie Pasquantino got the thumb issue. He took BP yesterday, and I saw him. He was hacking. It was not, I'm spraying the ball to the left side, and he was taking full cuts, which is really good. There has been a hope all along that after breaking his thumb, I think on the second last day of August, that he would potentially be back if they made the playoffs. Well, obviously, there we go. And it sounds like, maybe he's out there next week. Now, again, rust, and I haven't played in a month, and that's a very tough position to be put in because now we're no longer facing fifth starters anymore. You don't have the travel days. It's boom, boom, boom. But even if he's only available as a pinch hitter at this point, that would be great news for the Royals in the start of the playoffs. And the deeper they go, hopefully the healthier he would get if they were obviously to proceed deeper into the playoffs. Clayton Kershaw, we don't know if we're going to see him again. Even if the Dodgers were to make the World Series, we just don't know if he's going to pitch again this season. But Kershaw himself said yesterday, I'm fully intending on pitching in the playoffs, whether that's as a starter, whether that's at a reliever. He's got a toe issue. I've talked about my toe issue before. It's a bigger deal than it sounds like. When you've got a toe issue, so he says, I can't throw until my toe's right. And, he knows his body well, and he's dealt with injuries over the years and all of that. It's been a terrible season from him performance-wise because he had just been on the field less than normal. But there's still a hope that he'll be back in the playoffs. Obviously, the deeper the Dodgers go, the more likely it is that that is a reality. I'm not suggesting anyone should get excited about the idea of Clayton Kershaw at this point of the 2024 season, but there is a chance. Speaking of the Dodgers, by the way, you see that Achane got to 400 total bases last night. Dude's just, I mean, for those of you playing DFS, by the way, I was looking at it this morning, getting ready to write that final cash game breakdown, and he's 5,400 on FanDuel, which is stupid. He's $8,000 on DraftKings. He is more expensive on DraftKings than starting pitchers. I've never seen, and maybe this has happened before, because I've only really been doing DFS for about 4 years full time kind of thing. $8,000 for an offensive player? That's bananas. Like, how could you even put a team together with that? Like, I can't even put him in the cash game breakdown. He should be number one because he's getting 2 hits and an RBI and a run every night. Can't put $8,000. It's ridiculous. Anyway, speaking more of the Dodgers, Freddie Freeman, who twisted his ankle yesterday, it sounds like his season's over. Not saying his postseason, but the regular season is over. He was seen after the game when they were celebrating in crutches and a walking boot. They basically have said he's not going to play the rest of the regular season. So Freeman's out today, tomorrow, and Sunday. That's at least the expectation at this point in time. X-rays were negative, so this is very good news. This is not something that's expected to linger. But his regular season is over, and now we have to worry about when's is going to be available come playoff time. And you hate to see it, whether you're a Dodger fan or not, and I'm obviously not. You hate to see a guy get hurt come playoff time, right? Because you're just right there. You're so close. You want teams to give it a go. I don't enjoy it. Maybe, I don't know, some do. I don't want to watch some guy that has, 13 innings pitched this year, pitching the 9th inning of Game 5 for the Dodgers. I don't, as much as I love Chris Taylor, I don't need Chris Taylor playing over Freddie Freeman. You know what I mean? It's like, I want to see teams give it their go, give it their best, and we'll see. But bad timing, obviously, with this injury to Freeman. Again, the initial reports are positive. There are no breaks. There's nothing torn. His ankle is okay, but he does have an ankle sprain. Was in that walking boot, did have crutches, and is not expected to play here down the stretch. So keep that all in mind. I'm Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. We'll visit with Russell Clay here in a few minutes, talk a little bit of football. You see it there on the screen, what we're going to be discussing Thursday night football, all that kind of good stuff. I mentioned earlier, remember, don't forget to go to FantasyGuru.com. Get that discount right now, 50% off or 2 for 1. 2 for 1. Get the DFS football, get the wagering free. Get the wagering football, get the DFS free. Pretty good. We just toss it in there. I probably should have read, instead of probably just put a 2 for 1 instead of 50% off. It is 50% off, but it's 2 for 1. You get the point. It's one price. You get both packages. Before we talk to Russell, and I said it there in the screen, and I've said it here before, and I'll say it again. We gotta do a better job of getting in deeper leagues. I'm getting really frustrated with do I bench Malik Neighbors? Do I bench Deebo Samuel? Folks, you did a great job putting a team together. Get in a deeper league, right? Get in a league that has more starting roster spots. It doesn't have to be a 14-team league, even if it's a 10-team league. We start 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, tight end flex as a minimum. Add a second flex, add a super flex, add another receiver. Do something like that so that you can take advantage. Because there are multiple people in Discord that ask me every week, which of these wide receivers do I bench? And they're listing 4 or 5 top 20 wide receivers. I don't know is that fun for anybody? I don't know. I'm benching Malik Neighbors this week. I'm benching Stephon Diggs this week. Why? You would never bench Shohei Ohtani in baseball. Maybe that's a bad example. You would never bench Marcell Ozuna in baseball. Why are we in a football league where we're benching Stephon Diggs or Malik Neighbors? Just get in a deeper league. Allow yourself the opportunity to have the success that you deserve for having these guys on your roster. Don't allow your league mates the chance to catch up to you because you're only playing 2 wide receivers. And they didn't know what the hell they were doing on the draft day, but they got 2 top 25 wide receivers because they're in a 10-team league, and they're basically keeping pace. Start 3 receivers. Get a second flex. Do something do that. Take advantage of your time, your energy, your effort, your money that you put into this and having success. And don't force myself or Russell Clay or anyone over at FantasyGuru.com to tell you to bench Stephon Diggs some weeks. It's not what you want to be. All right. So before I get on my soapbox, Russell showed up, which is good because I don't need to get on my soapbox and go nuts here because then you all hate me. And I'm a little salty today anyway. So let's avoid me going down a rabbit hole of anger. And let's turn it into some happiness because when Russell Clay comes on, we're always happy. Russell Clay at FantasyGuru.com. You can see him on the live stream on Tuesday nights. You can see him here every Friday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. He's always in Discord answering questions. He loves pretzels. And Russell will welcome you in. I was mentioning earlier, we got to get your podcast up on the Elite Plus page or your show up on the Elite Plus page. How are the pretzels and the reviews coming? I haven't asked you in a couple of weeks.
Pretzels are good. I would say the rating has been an off-season joy that we've put on hold with our Friday schedule. I'm actually going on with Tyler for the Core 4 live stream today, along with this and along with the betting show. Fridays have not been about pretzels for a few weeks now, but we've been eating them.
Oh, okay, good.
We're still enjoying them.
And I was just, by the way, before we get into Thursday Night Football and everything, I was just saying, go in deeper leagues and such. And Aaron brings up a point here. He says, look, he's kind of joking. He says, look, I got a lack of friends. We had a 10-teamer. It's now an 8-teamer. Life and kids happen. And so it's only 8 of us now. To me, like, you really want to be in at least a 10-team league, hopefully 12 or 14. But even if it's 8, that's okay. We don't want you to be starting 2 receivers in an 8-team league because there's no point. I mean, you might as well just have auto-drafted, right? So even if your league is shallow, what you should do, in my opinion, and I know you agree with this, I think you've even said it previously, in a shallow league like this, start 3 running backs, start 4 receivers, have 8 bench spots, like extend your roster out even if the size of the league is smaller. Do you agree with that?
Yes, and that is the secret to having league happiness. More roster spots, more starting spots, because what gets you on these start sits, and we see it every week, Ray, I have to start. I have 1 spot, and I have Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Devontae Adams, Torrey Holt, and Terrell Owens, and I have to figure out how to get one of these guys in these starting spots. And we're all sitting there like, well, this is going to be awful for you because 2 of these guys are probably going to have 25 points. And I saw this multiple times in the Discord yesterday where people were picking between Malik Neighbors and another guy. And I'm like, listen, I am not sitting Malik Neighbors. I don't care. And I know he's a rookie, but the dude is getting 10 plus targets a game and he should not be in your start sits anymore. So
yeah, but what if it, and I saw this I had told someone to bench Malik Neighbors yesterday because the other guy was Devontae Adams. And it's like,
so that is a league issue, not a start sit issue. That is you need more starting spots in your league. There should be no scenario where you have to make that decision. So if you need an extra flex spot, if you need something else going on, you should never be deciding between 2 top 15 guys. That's just my opinion. But I understand. Hey, if you have a super stacked team sometimes, but yeah, we gotta loosen up those starting requirements.
Russell Clay of fantasygear.com. Again, he joins us every Friday here on the show. Last night on Thursday Night Football, Dallas Cowboys beat the Giants 20-15, kind of a snooze fest. We're hoping for the Cowboys to go off. They didn't. Lamb got in the end zone and had a good game. Prescott threw a couple of touchdowns. Okay, nothing really exciting happened. On the other side of things, Malik Neighbors had the concussion late, so we'll have to watch that. He had his double-digit targets. He had his 12 catches for 115 yards. Wan'Dale Robinson. What do we do with Wan'Dale Robinson? Someone yesterday asked me in Discord. I've got Neighbors and Robinson. I want to play both. And I'm like, I can never play both guys. I just can't. It's the Giants. They suck. I can't. I don't care what the matchup is. It's Wan'Dale Robinson. He's not part of the offense. That advice looks terrible because he caught 11 balls for 71 yards. He's still not part of the offense. All he did was run 5 yards and say, throw me the ball. The offense, as we saw last night, doesn't work if that's your offense. If you're throwing the ball 14 times a week to Wan'Dale Robinson, you're going to lose every game. Are they going to throw the ball enough to him that in a PPR setup, he's going to catch 5 to 6 passes every week? And, if that's the case, do you have any interest? Because the 5 or 6 catches is likely to lead to 62 yards. So it's not really doing anything for you.
So before they brought in Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson last year was a guy, 2nd-round pick out of Kentucky. And this was the usage. It was just so gnarly last year without Neighbors because we had this same role. And instead of Neighbors breaking free for a few first downs, it was, all right, Wan'Dale Robinson 2-yard catch, Wan'Dale Robinson 3-yard catch. Third down, Daniel Jones throws it out of bounds, and we punt. So this is better, Ray, as much as it was a snooze fest. Yeah, this is what we get out of Wan'Dale. He was always this slot. I don't want to say boring, but on a better offense, this might look better, but it is what it is.
He's like a 10-point-a-week guy in a PPR setup, though, right? It's 5 for 50. That's just it. There's no, even last night he had 14 targets. Hey, come on.
Desperation times, Wan'Dale will be there and get you those 10 points you need, but this is an ugly offense. They're 1-3. The one bright spot for him is he's a young player, and they are going to be packing it up pretty soon here. This is an offense. This is a rebuilding team, whether they want to admit it or not. Dable certainly doesn't want to, because that means he's going to be out of a job here shortly. But this is a rebuilding team, so they have him, Hyatt, and Neighbors. I have a feeling Slayton is going to be getting moved into a different role in a few weeks here due to, this team is just not ready to compete.
Yeah, Hyatt's on a milk carton right now. Like,
oh my God.
Year and a half. It's like they don't throw him one target last night again.
Yeah.
Heading into the game last night, there was some excitement because the offensive line for the Giants was blocking pretty well. Singletary was having success on the ground. The Cowboys defense looked terrible against the run the first couple of weeks. And so everyone starts Singletary. And we talked about this yesterday, Tyler Beaker and I. And Singletary goes out and lays an egg, does absolutely nothing. On the other side of things, Rico Dowdle emerges as the lead back. He did nothing. 46 yards and caught a pass. He got a touchdown, but he caught one pass. On these two sides moving forward, is there anything to see with the rushing attack for either team? Because we had Singletary again. Yesterday was terrible. And the Cowboys, I guess it's Dowdle's job now, but even so, there's just nothing happening on the ground for the Cowboys either.
Yeah, the Cowboys said, no, the Daniel Jones thing. We've played you. We know what's going on here. You can't fool us. We're going to stuff the run and let you do these stupid dump offs. So that's this felt like an interdivisional rivalry. Now, I will say the funny narrative coming out of New York, if you're reading any of these threads, or the Giants fans, they don't miss Saquon at all. Devin Singletary's a fine replacement, and it's all fine.
Right.
But that is not what I'm seeing. And this is going to be a lot of pain when Saquon wins Offensive Player of the Year for the Eagles. So Singletary is going to have good weeks. There's going to be better matchups than this. And I know the Cowboys have been struggling against the run, but I guess the other thing, so as I mentioned with Wan'Dale, where he's going to be fine, if they are 1-5, do they just switch to Tyrone Tracy to see what they have towards the end of the year? So that's the one concern there. But for now, Singletary has been playing pretty well, I will admit. So that's the thing to watch out for there. And then, the Dowdle thing. This certainly isn't the 2017 Cowboys running game, huh?
Yeah, it's okay. And I know you want work, right, in volume. And if he's getting 15 touches a week, okay. But again, last night he got 12. So it's okay to not be involved in every backfield.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, there's been a lot of Dowdle questions of late. And it's like, if you played him last night, I guess you got the win. What'd you get, 11 points? Like, you didn't get, yeah, he didn't do anything. And I struggle to think of him suddenly getting 18 touches a week and being the only guy utilized in the backfield. So it's like, as much as it's the Cowboys and we're used to seeing it, like you said, it's okay to not also be involved with some teams in certain aspects of their offense, Russell.
And whoever this Hunter Lupke guy is, cut it out, Cowboys. Those 4 touches a game, that's really not cool, man. I feel like Big Lebowski when the guy pissed on his rug. It's like, that's just not cool, man. Those need to go to Brandon Cooks or Lamb or somebody, right?
I haven't had a white Russian in a long time.
Oh my God.
Not you met. I mean, because I used to go out a lot more before I met my lady. I
Yeah.
haven't had a white Russian in a while. Speaking of that, geez.
Well, maybe this is your inspiration right there.
Yeah, maybe. I'm going to a tiki spot tomorrow, so I can't. But maybe next week. Russell Clay of FantasyGuru.com. Another scenario that everyone had high hopes with coming into the season, who heading into game action this week looks dire. It's the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, they lost Tua. Armstead's beat up. The offensive line hasn't done a great job. We were concerned about it coming into the season anyway. Where are we at? I mean, Waddle, I think everyone's kind of like, oh, crap. But there's like concerns with Tyreek Hill. Like, people don't want to play Tyreek Hill. I've heard Jeff Mans address this multiple times this week. And everyone still seems to be 100% in on Achane when it's like, where are we at this weekend with the team that, I mean, we don't even know who their quarterback is officially. They haven't announced officially who their quarterback even is this week, unless I missed it.
So it's so funny because I was not a huge Tua guy, but he served a purpose. He got us to that baseline. He was able to get it to Tyreek Hill, and we got to unlock that ceiling. Same thing with Waddle, and this opened up the run game to make this offense what it is. We now don't have that baseline. We just have nothing. We are a bottom of the barrel, and there's only so much Mike McDaniel can do. With that said, we got to play Tyreek Hill. Now, I'm not seeking him out in trade. I certainly don't want to give up, premium pieces to go get him in a season-long league. But I got to play him where I have him, right? I mean, that's just the reality. He can take a 2-yard catch and bring it 80 yards. I am done underrating Tyreek Hill. That grift is long gone. He's humbled me long ago. So we respect Tyreek Hill, but it's ugly. And sometimes, some years you gotta eat those 10, 12-point games and go forward just based on the potential ceiling. Where are you at with Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, I agree with both Jeff and you. You plan. I mean, there are different types of receivers also, and you mentioned this here. Tyreek Hill is blazing fast, right? Got the quicks and everything like that. This is not a guy who's just running post routes and hoping that the quarterback hits him. Get the ball in his hands, and he's not Wan'Dale Robinson getting tackled for a 5-yard gain. He's off. So, yeah, you've got to plan. You've got to plan. And I mean, looking back the last couple, and again, I think this has a lot to do with not just Tua, but specifically the offensive line. Tua Tagovailoa would drop back and just chuck a ball into an open space. He wasn't doing it. He wasn't beating coverage. He would just throw a ball, and here comes Tyreek Hill, streaking across. Can't Tim Boyle or Tyler Huntley just drop back and throw a ball in space? Like they could if the offensive line would allow them the time for the play to develop and do enough to put the defense on their heels a little bit, thinking they might actually run the ball effectively, which is so this football is a very unique game because a lot of times people look specifically at the players, and it's really a holistic situation that we have to take into account, Russell.
Absolutely. So it is what it is, but I would continue to play him.
The Bears, everyone was excited about DeAndre Swift. That hasn't worked out. Now everyone hates DeAndre Swift. Everyone had Khalil Herbert as the backup to DeAndre Swift, and the Bears have decided apparently that, no, he's not even the backup anymore. So Roschon Johnson's the guy everyone's talking about. Everyone's added him this week. There are people that think he's the lead running back for the Bears. They're in. I'm getting lots of questions about, do I start him this week? This team has been terrible running the football. Their offensive line has been awful. I'm not interested in starting Roschon Johnson. I'm not interested in starting Travis Homer. I don't know. I'm not interested in starting Walter Payton with this offensive line right now. Are you starting anyone on this backfield? And what does this look like in a couple of weeks with the Bears?
Now, I didn't get to watch prime Walter Payton, but he might be a flex. He might be a flex play in this.
I think that's fair. I probably overspoke.
He might get to 3 yards per carry, but I'll tell you what, man, this is gnarly. DeAndre Swift might be done based on what we saw. It sucks right now. There's probably a combination. When we see running backs at the NFL level averaging such bad yards per carry, it's almost always an offensive line thing, right? There's only so much the running backs can do. I'm curious to see the Roschon era. I want to see it. It'll probably look like 3.7 yards per carry and some nice volume, but you mentioned it. There's 3 or 4 running backs here in an offense that is not doing well in the running game right now. So there's only so much we can expect out of this until we see Caleb start to mesh well with this weapon. But I will say, I have a gripe with Keenan Allen. Hey, pal.
Play?
The half the reason why we like this offense was that Keenan Allen was going to be the reliable target for Caleb, and he had one game and he said, I'm old. I did this with Phil Rivers and Justin Herbert already. I'm out. And I would like to see him back in the lineup here. Rome Odunze is starting to look good. So that is a bright spot of this offense, but yeah, all indications beyond a sick running back, we're in trouble here with that running game.
Russell Clay and Ray Flowers here of fantasyguru.com on Fantasy Sports Daily, Monday through Friday from 12 o'clock to about 1 o'clock Eastern time. Russell's on about 12:30 every Friday. Let's do some either-ors this week. So if we look at the quarterback position, Russell, we've got Aaron Rodgers, who faces Denver, Patrick Surtain, and Kirk Cousins against the Saints. Everyone loves the Saints 2 weeks ago. Last week, what are we doing with these two old guys? Who do you favor? They're close in the rankings over at FG. Are we going Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins this week?
Rodgers probably is my move for the next couple weeks, just due to how he looked. I like Cousins. I like how Atlanta looks. I think they had a really tough first couple weeks. We go back to week 1 and people were calling for Penix. And now it's like, okay, he just had some rough matchups. That Chiefs defense is no joke. That Steelers defense might be the best in the league. So he's in a good spot. But I'll go with Rodgers there for the foreseeable future and work from there.
At the running back position, we have Chuba Hubbard ahead of Najee Harris this week. I think both guys, though, are looking to be volume plays. Obviously, the Panthers' offense is reinvigorated with Andy Dalton. Najee Harris is the only game in town now. It seems like Warren. Well, I guess not. Cordell Patterson, the love child of Arthur Smith, is going to be active. But it seems like Jalen Warren's not going to play. We've been seeing 18, 19 carries a week out of Najee Harris every week. Do you agree with Hubbard being ahead of Harris this week? And do you view the two of them similarly the rest of the season, or do you have a favorite between the two?
I do agree with that this week. Andy Dalton has created some life in that Panthers offense, and Arthur Smith loves this week. So he loves this week more than any other week in the last 5 years. He has a competent quarterback. Shout out to Desmond Ridder, Cincinnati legend. Not really doing it at the NFL level at all.
No.
Justin Fields can do enough to where Arthur Smith can, do his thing with Calvin Austin, Darnell Washington, and all that goofy stuff he loves to do.
Didn't you tweet out something about this recently?
Yeah. It's like, this is his dream. He has been staying up till 4 a.m. game planning this awesome setup for him. So Justin Fields is just competent enough and explosive enough as a runner to make all this work, kind of like we saw with Tannehill and the Titans back in the day. So what this means for Najee is there's just going to be a lot of different guys. And even without Warren, you mentioned it, they got Patterson, who's 34, 35 at this point, but still probably explosive enough to do those end arounds. We might see a Cordero Patterson pass, right, Ray? I mean, shit. We've been with Arthur for enough years now, so we know what's up.
You can follow Russell on Twitter X at Russell J. Clay, by the way. We do know what's up. Oh, boy. Wide receiver spot. Give me a rest of the way. 2 guys that were expected to be strong every week plays. 2 guys that through 3 weeks, for various reasons have not been. 2 guys that are panicking people. Michael Pittman, Christian Kirk. Which of these 2 wideouts in a, let's say, PPR setup, half point, whatever, half point or full point, which one of these 2 guys, Pittman or Kirk, do you want on your team the rest of the way?
Not looking good for Michael Pittman. The Christian Kirk thing's a separate issue, which I have tons of gripes with Jacksonville right now. But this was Anthony Richardson at Florida. And we had that 4 or 5 game sample size from last year where we could all summer long say, whoa, he scored 20 fantasy points a game. He had some amazing passes. Things looked awesome. They won some games. He made some great comebacks. As the sample size drifts out and we get more Anthony Richardson, this was the guy who was platooning at Florida, right? He was a platoon quarterback. They were switching him off. They were sitting him some weeks. It was a nightmare for DFS and breaking down those slates because every week it's like, all right, this guy could score 40 points and he could also get benched after the first drive because he threw 4 straight passes out of bounds. So I don't know what to do with Michael Pittman right now. It looks really bad. And the funny thing is, Alec Pierce, who was left for dead, has that great combo with Anthony Richardson where we see the highlights. We see why he was a first-round pick. Just a beautiful deep ball, unbelievable raw tools as a deep passer. So the deep passing game looks good, but that 110 catch Gardner Minshew, Michael Pittman looks like it's no more. That looks like that role is gone. So I'm very worried about that situation. Kirk, my boy T-Law has trouble completing passes right now. We'll say that. Things are not good.
Right.
But
he talked about his eyes and he talked about his feet.
Yeah. We have seen it before, though, with Trevor Lawrence, with the Christian Kirk combination. We have seen this work before. And while that was the worst half of football we'll probably see all year from a team, I mean, they were down 25 at halftime. I mean, it was obliteration. Yeah. But second half, they did get going with Kirk individually a little bit. So that is the bright spot. And if you did start him, you got like 15 fantasy points. So I feel like they're going to go back to that from now on.
Russell Clay, Ray Flowers here on Fantasy Sports Daily. Let's hit some of the comments up here in the room. Hello, Doug. Go Tigers. Hello, Sean.
Yeah.
Billy Dawkins. Thanks for all you do as well for being with us. Aaron, we talked about your 18 question earlier. Henry has a question here. Henry says, thanks for the Rico Dowdle yesterday. You're welcome. Mark Andrews or Cole Kmet? Kmet had the big week last week. Does it mean anything? I mean, they threw the ball 55 times. So do you go Kmet or Andrews this week, Russell?
Ray, you've been playing fantasy football longer than I have.
Mm-hmm. Been alive longer than you, too.
Yeah. What the hell is this Mark Andrews thing? I don't think I've ever seen this before.
Do you love his head coach coming out and saying, well, that's just the packages for the game? What? This guy's been on your team. He's been your leading receiver for 4 years, and that's the package? I don't. I mean, third string tight ends catching Kohler, what's his name? I don't even remember his name right now. I don't know. What they threw the ball 9 times last week or whatever the hell it was, because they won the game. I think the real problem is, again, it's Lamar Jackson. As much as we love Lamar Jackson in the fantasy space, he has not evolved as a passer, and there are he can't throw the ball outside the hash marks, and it's stunning the offense. And I don't understand or can't explain Andrews. I don't know. I'm still starting him over Cole Kmet.
So I would play Andrews mostly because there are no other alternatives right now. I was laughing because I was looking at Pat Freiermuth with some of these other guys, and it's like, yeah, they can get you 7, but I don't know if 7's any good. But this is bizarre. This is not, no offense to like Dalton Schultz or some of these more. This is Mark Andrews. This guy had a 1,300 receiving yard season, and they're treating him like, a 5th round. All right, Norm, I know you're not happy with Mark Andrews either, but relax over there.
Yeah, Dexter wasn't happy with Tyreek Hill, so
I imagine. Yeah. So this is bizarre. This would be like Jason Witten getting just sat or something. I've never seen this before in my life. So I'm starting Mark Andrews, but I totally get why it's a question, and it's strange. So yeah, strange.
Henry also says he has a chance to win 2 leagues in baseball. Thanks for all the
Hey.
advice. You're welcome, Henry. Bring it home. Let's go. A couple days left. Let's go. Jim C has a question. Bucky Irving, everyone's favorite. It's on the waiver wire. Or stick with Jaleel McLaughlin as bench depth, assuming we don't have any other, we don't have White, we don't have Williams, anything like that. Who are you taking the shot on here? McLaughlin, whose usage has been up and down, or Irving, who's had a steady role, but it's hard to envision that role growing much unless Rashid White gets hurt?
I would go with Bucky just because I don't want to deal with Sean Payton's glassy-eyed stare on the sidelines anymore. I'm just sick of that offense at this point. But yeah, Bucky, but as you said, even if Bucky does get a bigger role, he's not getting the receiving production. So yeah.
David, who always asks questions every day, pretty much. Thanks for watching every day, David. He's your guy. He waited till you were on the show to ask, Russell. He's got Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Would you drop him for any one of 17 quarterback options here, including Anthony Richardson, who you spoke of, Kirk Cousins, who you spoke of, Matt Stafford, Andy Dalton, and Caleb Williams? So we've got old guys, we've got young guys, we've got passers, we've got runners. All these guys, I think it's almost a week-to-week kind of thing. I don't look at this group and say any of them, oh my gosh, do they stand out versus everyone else? What do you think? Does someone stand out over the rest of them there?
Yeah, this is all matchups. T-Law, love the guy. But even last year when he was dominating, the running game, he loves handing it off at the 1 yard line. That's one of his favorite things to do. So even
he's not Aaron Rodgers,
yeah, right. He's not forcing those 4 downs to get that passing touchdown. So Trevor Lawrence has never really been about the fantasy production, even when he was doing really, really well. So keep that in mind. And guys like Richardson have just huge ceilings, even Dalton, Caleb, Cousins. So throw him in that mix. I would not hold on to him too strong fantasy-wise.
Sebastian said there's a Discord server. Absolutely, Sebastian. Any of the packages you sign up for over at fantasyguru.com, go to the site, subscribe, top right corner. Any of the packages you sign up for get you access to Discord. So if you sign up for the seasonal, you get the seasonal. If you sign up for the wagering, you get the wagering. You get the dynasty. You can talk to Russell all the time, right? We've got a DFS room, all these kind of things. So subscribe at the top right corner. If you have subscribed and you need information on how to log in, send a note to support@fantasyguru.com, support@fantasyguru.com, and they'll send you the instructions on how to get it logged in. He did have a question, he or she. I guess it's a he if it's Sebastian. Just traded Bijan and Tank Dell and Javonte Williams. So another one. By the way, folks, I say this all the time, 6-player trades. Okay. Bijan Robinson, Tank Dell, Javonte Williams for Dobbins, B-Rob, and Devontae. So I guess that's Brian Robinson and Devontae Adams. Tank Dell's hurt. Javonte Williams' job is unknown. Dobbins is going to get hurt. Robinson is a solid every week play, and then there's Devontae Adams. I think the trade's fine to have done. What do you think?
I wouldn't trade Bijan, but hey, we're getting some starters there, and Dobbins looks refreshed, so sure. But yeah, I try to keep Bijan on my squads,
It's hard to give up a guy that's touching it 20 times a week.
It's true.
There's like 4 of those guys, if that. Slim Shady said Carson Steele was dropped. Add him and start him over Swift or Zamir. Go.
What? I couldn't hear you. I would rather look at some other options there, especially with Kareem Hunt maybe being active, and they're not committed to Steele, even though he's a fun story for real football. Fantasy wise, we kind of saw the ceiling there last week.
Yeah, we have Carson Steele right now ranked 35th at running back this week.
Yeah.
So you can add him, but would I be playing DeAndre Swift? Like, I'm not going to play DeAndre Swift this week. So I guess in theory you could play him over DeAndre Swift. But again, he's running back 35. Flex option here from Adam. Pick one to flex. And this is what, by the way, what do you do with this question too? If if I hate these if questions, it's Friday morning. We shouldn't be asking a question on a Friday morning or Thursday or Wednesday, which does happen with the if.
Yeah.
We think Jordan Love will play, but we don't know. So the question is, do we go Jaden Reed, Khalil Shakir, or Garrett Wilson? I don't know how anyone's going to bench Garrett Wilson, even facing Surtain. You tell me if I'm wrong. You still playing Wilson over Shakir and Reed or not?
Yeah, I'm not thinking about this one. If I have Garrett Wilson, I just have him in the lineup, barring something crazy happening.
Mm-hmm.
I will say Khalil Shakir, great role in that Bills offense. Like what he's doing there. Jaden Reed with Love is a top 15 guy. So I get the question. I'm just not. I'm saving myself the stress and strain of having it be a start sit. And if they go off, fine, but it would never have been a thing for me. So it's like, yeah, okay, I just wouldn't have played those guys. So right. Reed with Love though is close.
Final question. And by the way, Tony, go Tigers, like you said, and thank you for the kind words. We do appreciate you as much as you appreciate us. So thank you, Tony C. Final question is TJ Deal. 14-team PPR league, need a flex. Keenan Allen, who we don't know. J.K. Dobbins, we don't know whose quarterback's going to be. And Darnell Mooney. So this is a motley crew here. It should be Keenan Allen in a PPR setup, but as you talked about earlier, at this point, What are we doing? Allen, Mooney, or Dobbins?
Yeah, Allen, if he plays, had a huge role that week 1, but I get why you'd be looking at Mooney and Dobbins. Please don't play Justin Herbert. Please. This is, again, I have been around a while. This has season-ending ankle injury written all over it. Please sit out Justin Herbert. But if he does, I'd probably go Dobbins, just because that running game's been awesome. But yeah, Keenan Allen if he plays.
Isn't Mooney kind of like Rico Dowdle? It's like, yeah, he's going to get 5 passes for 55 yards. Who cares? Like, it's
solid desperation flex, right?
Yeah, a lot of people in a 14-team league is a flex option. Totally fair. But it seems like people are trying to make Mooney a thing. It's like, he's not. He's just a guy who's getting 6 targets a week. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's Russell Clay. I'm Ray Flowers. Russell, where can the folks find you the next couple of days before we shut things down here?
Yeah, so coming up next, I'm going to be joined by Rob Brink on the Circa Betting Show. We're going to go through the staff's picks against the spread for the betting section. So if you're into that stuff, definitely check that out. I'm going to be hopping on the Core 4 live stream with Tyler Beaker later today. I'm going to let him do all the heavy lifting, and then I'll just say some plays in between. Right? Yeah, that's my move. That's what I'm going to do. So that's going to be fun. And we got some college football this weekend. A ton of great analysis from Jeff Mans and everybody. So I'm going to be in the Discord on Sunday morning as well, handling all you hooligans. And should be a really fun weekend. It's been a great first couple weeks of the season. So looking forward to a lot of fantasy lineups.
He's Russell Clay. I'm Ray Flowers. We talk to Russell about 9:30 or so Pacific time, 12:30 East Coast time every Friday. We'll see him again in another week. For the second week in a row, we had so many questions. We're going to end the show together. So thank you to everybody for all your comments, and we appreciate that. Go to fg.com, click that subscribe tab. Remember, 2 for 1 right now. Sign up for DFS, get wagering for free. Sign up for wagering, get DFS for free for football, and get all of the crew's great work over at fantasyguru.com. We'll talk to you in a week, Russell. Have a great weekend, my friend.
Thanks, Ray.
You got it. He's Russell Clay. I'm Ray Flowers. Thanks for all being here. Next Monday, we'll recap what went down in the weekend of week 4. I'll be here at 12 o'clock Eastern, as I am every Monday, and we are here every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday on Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com. Have a great weekend.